Hi there, welcome to Kneppyinvests. One of the most exciting times to be a shareholder of a company is when said company goes into a trading hold and they reveal the reason they went to a trading hold can only be good news for the company. And Pointerra did exactly that on the 10th of December, last Friday, from when I'm doing this video. And they went into a trading hold because they want to announce some material contracts to the market. And over the last 4 days, it has been an exciting period for Pointerra shareholders because how is this going to affect their share price? And that's important because the share price has been in a general downtrend during 2021. And the question is, could this be the announcement of these material contracts, could it be the catalyst for a shift in sentiment for Pointerra? So I'll be going through the material contracts that were announced on Tuesday, the 14th of December. Also look at the market reaction to this announcement and to see if this was a catalyst to a potential breakout in Pointerra's share price. Let's just go back to Friday, and it just mentioned that in this trading hold that it concerned the award of material contracts in its US operation. It also mentioned they were going to, or the trading hold will be in place until they release the news or until market opened on Tuesday the 14th of December, which was today. So because they didn't release this news on the Monday the 13th, they had to have released this news, this announcement, by the start of trading on the 14th, which is 10 a.m., or Pointerra would have requested a suspension in the trading of their shares. And they left it almost to the last minute, but they did release the announcement at 9:43 a.m., 17 minutes before trading began. To be honest with you, before Pointerra released this announcement, my main concern was that management had misused the word material. And when they did release this announcement, the details of these contracts would be underwhelming, would disappoint the market, disappoint shareholders, and all that excitement that had built up over the past 4 days would instantly evaporate on opening of trading. But as soon as I read the announcement, those concerns were swept aside because the first contract, they announced 3 contracts. The first contract with Entergy was for between 3.3 million and 5.6 million. The second contract with Pacific Gas and Electric was for $1 million. And the third contract, I think, is immaterial, so I won't really mention that throughout this video. But the other thing I was really curious to see was these numbers they were giving us in the highlights of the announcement. The value, was that related to annual contract value, or were these numbers just one-offs? And that actually is a big difference. So let's get into the specifics of the first 2 contracts. One thing about Entergy, they are a fairly large company. They are a Fortune 500 integrated energy company with operations in the deep south of the United States, a market cap about $25 billion. And that is interesting in itself, that a fairly large company is interested in the services that Pointerra are providing. It sort of gives a legitimacy to what Pointerra is doing. So that is one good thing about 2 of the companies that Pointerra have made or developed some relationships with. Anyway, I wasn't that curious about Entergy, what that company is. I was more curious about the specifics of the contract. Was this ACV related, or annual contract value, the numbers they gave, or was it going to be just a one-off payment? And there is a big difference between the 2, because if you're getting between 3.3 million and to $5.6 million a year, compared to just receiving a one-off 3.3 to 5.6 million, that is a significant difference. Now, in the commentary of this specific announcement, they do mention that the contract is for initial 12-month period. But then they expand on that and say there are expectations that entity spend with Pointerra will grow over time. So it seems like this could just be the beginning of a significant relationship between Entergy and Pointerra. And the value of the contract that they gave in this announcement, 3.3 to 5.6 million, could be dwarfed in regards to or compared to the total value of this relationship over the next 5, 10, 15, or even 20 years. PG&E is another large company, although I think they are a subsidiary of an even larger company, and this company provides their services to California, or the northern two-thirds of California, which is fairly large, and their services are provided to 5.2 million households. And this contract is, again, for a fixed time period, an initial 14-month period, but just like Entergy, it is expected that the relationship between PG&E and Pointerra will grow over time. So that value they gave in regards to this contract, $1 million, more than likely will be significantly higher over the next 5, 10, 15, or even 20 years. Now, just because I think these announcements, these contracts were a significant positive or are a significant positive for Pointerra, doesn't mean the market's going to think likewise. So we want to see the reaction from the market, see how trading occurred during the day, and also the volume. Now, initially, the share price did open about 44, maybe 43 cents, and that was near the high of the day. There was a little bit of selling, which pushed the share price down to 40 cents, which makes sense. Because if we go back through the last 3 or 4 months, we have seen a share price higher than between 40 and 44 cents, which means there would have been some shareholders who saw the share price pop up today and saw that opportunity to sell out, particularly those shareholders who bought in at higher prices over the past 12 months or so. So this was their opportunity. And we have seen false breakouts with Pointerra over the past 9 months. In fact, we've seen about 2 or 3, and this could be another one. And the candlestick for trading on this day, even though the share price did increase 17.4%, is not the best looking candlestick. In fact, you want almost a complete opposite. So today, Pointerra's share price opened at the high of the day and closed at the low. Not quite at the low, but near the low. You want the complete opposite. You want the share price to open at the low and close at the high. That's a much more powerful announcement, and there could be some momentum moving forward over the next few days. The other thing to take note here is the volume was much lower than I expected. I did expect much more volume, more excitement in the market, if you will. And the fact that the volume was not significantly higher than what we've seen over the past 4 or 5 months. It is higher than what we've seen over the past 2 months since September, but it was quite muted, the reaction from the market. So that was another surprise for me. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the share price start to drift lower from here, because the market seems like it wasn't that excited about this announcement. Well, definitely wasn't as excited as I was, and as excited as some of those people who bought shares on open. Whenever a company releases a potentially significant announcement, I do like to look at shorter term time periods, so 1, 3, or 5 minute trading, just to see how the market reacts during the particular day. Looking at 1 day candlestick can tell you an overall story about trading, but when you do look at the 5 minute candlestick, or even 3 or 1, you do get a little bit more clearer understanding of how the market has responded to the announcement. And in this chart here, we have 5 minute chart going back a few days. You can see a spike in volume at the start of trading on the 14th of December, and that's when the share price increased from 34.5 cents to an open at 44.5 cents. So the share price did increase by about 30% on open. So there was that initial excitement. And we do almost always see this. When a company releases exciting news, there is always going to be those people, particularly shareholders, who see the announcement, think it's really positive, and just have to buy in at open. I like to be a little bit more patient, just wait to see how the market reacts during the rest of the day. And most of the trading for Pointerra happened within the first about 1 hour or 1.5 hours of trading. And then volumes really slipped away during the rest of the day, and during the rest of the day, share price just went sideways. So there was no buying, no selling. Fairly muted reaction from the market during the rest of trading. All the excitement, all the share price movements happened in the first 1.5 hours. So I think moving forward, it's going to be very important to see how the market reacts over the next few days. Maybe it's going to take a little bit of time for certain sections of the market to completely digest the specifics of these 2 or 3 contracts. And maybe we might see a bit of a more positive reaction from the market over the next few days, or we might see a little bit more selling, particularly because the action of the market over the past 3 or 4 hours, or the last 3 or 4 hours of trading on the Tuesday, could be a bit of a disappointment to some short-term or day traders, and they might just sell out because of that lack of interest in the market over that short time period. The one thing I'm interested in Pointerra is how their annual contract value is growing. It is growing at a very quick rate. And I sort of did hope they would give us a bit of an update to the ACV, because more than likely, in the last update, it was 11.7 million, if I remember correctly, a few months ago. And more than likely that has grown, and they have confirmed in this announcement it has grown, but they didn't give us a specific number. They just mentioned that the contracts disclosed in this announcement have generated further uplift in Pointerra's ACV run rate, and the company looks forward to updating the market with the revised ACV run rate as appropriate, with the next update being provided by 31st of January 2022 at the latest. The reason they've mentioned that date is because Pointerra have to release an Appendix 4C by the end of January. So more than likely, that's when we're going to get the next ACV update by the latest. And I think we're going to see some good news in regards to the updated ACV. And if we do see that ACV number increase by a significant amount, that in itself could be the catalyst for a shift in sentiment in Pointerra and Pointerra's share price. That's all I have for this video on the material contracts that Pointerra did announce to the market on the 14th of December 2021. If you have any questions about these contracts, about Pointerra, possibly about any other company on the ASX or on international exchanges, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions, your comments, so leave it in the comment section of this video. Otherwise, I am not a financial planner. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.